Hello and welcome to another episode of Bangers and Mosh, the podcast for those who fear tomorrow. I'm Jimmy,
I'm Daz.
Oh, Deffer.
and joining us today is the legendary frontman of one of hardcore's most iconic bands, Integrity, Mr. Dwid Hellion. Dude, thanks for joining us today, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Man,
Appreciate it.
absolute pleasure, mate. Like literally legendary band, man. I'm just reading some straight edge book by that Tony Retman, and I got to this part where they kind of all started to kind of jack in the sort of traditional hardcore punk sort of sound. They're just like, we all just want to play integrity stuff now. So cool.
What band was he in?
Oh, I don't know actually, mate. It was sort of like the sort of like not the Gorilla Biscuits sort of era, but yeah, it's kind of around that. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's like the whole scene kind of like shifted. They all just wanted to do it, which was pretty sick. So I was just like, oh wow, you
That's
know.
fascinating, man.
Mm.
So to give a bit of context then to what we're doing today. So Daz, you've picked the 13. These are your favorite 13 Integrity tracks, right?
Yeah, I mean it was really difficult because like every song's a worldie, but I did my best to pick a good diverse sort of a lot of songs.
Yeah. So for growing up, Integrity were a big deal for you, sort of growing up and getting into heavier music, right?
Yeah, definitely. And for you two, not so much.
No, no. So this for Dwid for myself and Deffa there in the bottom corner. This is going to be like a beginner's guide to Integrity as such because we got into heavy music through the more traditional like Maiden, Metallica, Megadeth, that sort of journey. So a lot of hardcore from the 90s and the early 2000s stuff really passed us by. So this for us is more like a beginner's guide to Integrity.
I also got into heavy music through metal. That's where I first experienced it as
Oh,
well.
sick. So if you was to for me and Deffa there, if you was to recommend one album, dude, one Integrity album to start with to set the ball rolling, what would you recommend as a starting point?
Me?
Yeah.
Want me to recommend it? I don't have any recommendations. I'm not really one for promoting it very well.
Oh,
I do
okay.
because it's something I like, and it's
Mm,
when we create the songs, there are things that we want to hear,
Yeah.
maybe don't already exist. And so when people say, "Oh, you guys were innovative" or something, it wasn't the idea that it was innovative. It was just out of entertaining ourselves and necessity. So we would say like, "Hey, like you said before, we like Iron Maiden, we like Judas Priest, we like Sabbath and Zeppelin, but we also like Black Flag, Sam Hain, Youth of Today, Septic Death, and Gizem, and other things." And we just smashed it together. So that's kind of how it always comes about these songs. It's just what I like or what other people in the band like. And then we think, this is pretty cool, but what if it was done this way? And then
Yeah.
we make that for ourselves. So I'm not really good at trying to convince people because I went into making music thinking this is just my taste. So I expect people are not going to like it. So I'm not very good at convincing other people to like it. And also that isn't really what I want to do.
Yeah.
I'd rather people who really like it. If they hear it, they say, "Hey, this resonates with me personally." That's great. If they say, "Hey, I fucking hate this. This sucks. This is kill your baby, eat your grandma music," which most old grannies say anyways, that's fine too. I don't get my feelings don't get hurt. I went into it thinking everybody was going to hate it. So the people who do like it is greatly appreciated and a surprise to me rather than the other way around. I don't approach this as a pop artist where I
Yeah.
think everybody should like it, like Michael Jackson or whoever.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I sort of looked at, so Daz gave us the playlist of these tracks. When I was going into it, you look at the bands that Integrity are sort of, if you're a fan of Integrity, you'll also like these bands. So I went into it thinking, okay, I kind of know what I like. I'm going to expect to hear. It was the total opposite, man. I was so surprised that like the vastness of the sounds that Integrity cover, the song structures, the writing's really intricate, and there was so much that I wasn't expecting to hear. So it's been a really eye-opening sort of thing going into these tracks that Daz has picked. It was really cool.
Yeah, we don't really follow a rule book,
No,
and because of that, we've received a lot of condemnation from people and criticism over the years. But again, I don't care. I went into this thinking everybody was gonna dislike it anyways because this is underground music, you
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
But we
So
just put in whatever we like. So, you know, if we like something that has a intricate, meticulous arrangement that has like multiple layers of guitars, like in the song Armenian Persecution in the beginning,
Mm.
and then it blasts into sort of like a discharge DB punk kind of a thing out of nowhere, which no one ever really did that. So we thought that would be cool. Like we wanted to hear that. So we made that. I mean, that's the way you're supposed to make art, I think. Other people have
yeah,
told me over my 37 years of doing this band that that's not the way to do it. You have to do what everyone tells you to do. You have to copy what everyone else is doing. But that isn't the way that I do it. So I don't care. Maybe I'm not as successful as the ones that follow the rules, but I'm successful to myself because I please myself and I can listen to my records. And for the most part, I like almost all the records that I've done. Some of them have not aged as well as others for me personally, but I'm proud of the things that I've created. So,
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I think
they were honest to you at the time, weren't they? That's who you were at that
yeah.
time as a songwriter. So
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
something of a diary or an exorcism or
yeah,
both.
yeah, I
yeah,
just think that that was a really sort of poignant part of the chat that you had with Colin and Bo about, you know, creativity and like being an artist, and a lot of people just like kill their inner child, man, like, you know, and
Yeah, you have to be
that's those
curious.
people.
The
That's those people.
curiosity is the key to being creative, in my opinion, and that's what I liken to childhood because there's a childhood curiosity that I
Mm.
never lost as a kid, and that got me interested in doing, you know, experimenting with things, including sound. But I thought of sound as being the same thing as painting or drawing or putting collaging, where you take images out of magazines and glue them together, cut them out and glue them together, make new images or make new experiences out of them. I thought that all that was the same. So I came from this from the wrong end of the of the road, but it ended up working out okay for me. So.
yeah. The proof's in the longevity pudding, man. That's for sure. Um, so we'll get into these tracks then, Daz. The first one you picked is off the Howling for the Nightmare Shall Consume album, Serpent to the Crossroads.
Yeah, absolutely whopping fucking track for me, man. Clocks in at almost 7 minutes. The solos, there's some really sick, deep southern, like sort of groove leads, soaring, brutal atmosphere. The lead work on the guitar throughout this song, I just think is an absolute marvel. Like the entire album's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, the guitar work is done by Dominic Romeo, and he's a
Oh,
fantastic guitar player. He outdid himself on that album. Is the question like, what is the song about?
yeah,
Roughly, is
just
that kind of what we're doing here?
yeah,
Yeah,
just like
just
yeah,
whatever
just
you've got
Well, yeah, if you
from
yeah.
the
look at the
time of
title,
writing and
like Serpents of the Crossroads. So Crossroads is a reference to Robert Johnson. Robert
Oh,
Johnson is uh, a real life musician, a Delta bluesman, but also kind of a folk hero
yeah,
or a mythological creature in a way, where a lot of people wonder, was it true? Was he really like that? Because of the mythos was that he went to the crossroads and he was a terrible guitar player and he sold his soul to the devil and the
yeah,
devil gave him the gift to play fantastic guitar. And then when he came back, he blew everyone away how great of a guitar player he was. And that became a thing of legend. At least it did so in America. And so the song is a bit about that, but mostly it's about the idea that, and I love Black Sabbath and I love Ozzy, so don't get me wrong, but a lot of people misunderstand that heavy metal and heavy music originated with Ozzy, and you know he invented all of this stuff. He was the first one to sell his soul for rock and roll, this kind of a thing. But actually, it was Robert Johnson,
yeah,
and that's the basic gist of the song. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but a lot of it does
yeah.
also. You know, you can read the lyrics and you can bring something from yourself into it as well as you experience. So it's not as black and white as the Robert Johnson biopic, but
Man, that's so
that was the
sick.
starting point for me because I'm a big fan of his. And a little secret hint for your listeners out there, the Robert Johnson songs that you hear when you listen to streaming and things like that, those were actually recorded at the wrong speed so that when played back, he'd be sped up. So he'd have a higher voice, which they thought would be more appealing.
Oh,
If you
cool.
slow it down a little bit, that's his real voice. He doesn't sound so much like, a Delta Michael Jackson or a Delta, this kind of falsetto thing that it came across. It was more of a deeper, rougher voice, which I think is more appealing. But I don't know if that appealed to everybody. So they did the trick with the speed. That has nothing to
That-
do with my song. That's just a little extra thing to throw in there for.
that's really interesting, man. That's fucking cool as fuck, man.
Yeah, it's really cool hearing that because
Honestly.
you can sort of hear in the lead work on it there. It's a very soulful
Mm.
lead, performance guitar wise, and so that obviously ties into the soulful nature of blues guitar playing, which is really cool.
Yeah, usually we come up with a concept for what the song should be about, and oftentimes I might even write a longer treatment, like a
Yeah.
story about it, and then share that with the musicians. The musicians are able to absorb that information and interpret it how they feel it should be interpreted through music.
Mm.
Because when you're playing music, when you're playing a guitar, when you're playing a drum, when you're playing any kind of instrument, you want to sort of uh, through intention, convey your story, what you have to say. Now, you're not speaking in the English language when you're speaking in the language of music,
Yeah.
but you're still able to convey feeling, and you're able to convey sometimes visual ideas and visual storylines. And so that's our something that we try to stick to with the songs. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah. I
Mm.
mean,
I think it adds an extra layer to it, and it adds an extra depth. Even if that's something that the audience will never know, never experience, never see, never read, it's still in there. And so I think that hidden code within the song itself adds a layer to it.
yeah, absolutely, man. There's a lot of emotional heft in that song, I felt, which is,
Mm.
I'm glad you picked this one first, as because it threw me off right from the start as to what I was gonna expect to hear across these tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the whole album's incredible, really. I mean, the next song, Burning Beneath the Devil's Cross, like proper sort of speedy punk bop at that. More sensational guitar solos. And like Dwid, the lyrics seem to be like super occult. Like, do you have like a sort of like gravitational sort of pull towards that kind of, you know, leaning?
Yeah. So what happened was in the 80s, there was a thing when I was growing up. I was born in 1971. So when the 80s came in, that was when I started becoming a preteen and a teenager. And we had a thing called the Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
And what that was the older people, people in authority, the government, they in America felt that the devil and satanic cults were permeating all of the youth culture. And that's why you had Quiet Riot or Twisted Sister, some more mainstream groups. They
Yeah.
they try to pin it on them. Um, but at the same time, there was kids missing. We would have milk cartons, like these like cardboard milk cartons in the morning, and then I'd start to notice that every time I'd have my cereal in the morning, there'd be a different kid's face on there that was missing, and I would wonder like what the story was there. Eventually, as I got a little bit older, I'd hear like, oh, they were kidnapped by satanic cults. My family are very religious, so almost everything they would categorized as going, the way of the devil.
Yeah.
So because of that, I grew curious, again, the curiosity of the child, and wondered if that was true or if that's just some kind of like a legend that the parents made to make you come home early or do your homework or whatever it would be. And so I did my own personal research into things like that, into cult nature, and I was very interested also because I grew up in a Pentecostal home where they're very faith driven and believing uh, very strongly. So that component mixed with my curiosity, and also at the same time, there's a level where I always was uh, fascinated by horror films, black and white horror films, vampire movies, and things like that. The old Universals, even the silent films, and the Hammer movies, things like that that had come out before I was born, and as I was growing up. So I guess all that stuff sort of like came together and formed that interest for me, and somehow it made sense that it worked out that way for me,
Yeah.
at least. Maybe not.
Yeah, it kind of seems like on the Howling album, like that's sort of like a real like a cult collection of songs, you know. Like I mean, I'll jump over one because it's off of the same album we're talking about Howling, but I Am the Spell.
Yeah.
You know, there's that lovely doomy build up straight into classic integrity. The lyrics I find are so captivating, the overwhelming whisper of annihilation, you know, like just it's just so good. There's just so much like a cult and sort of mysticism, and even the artwork itself is quite
Well, I
a
made the
cult as
artwork
well.
as well, so.
Yeah, yeah. I was saying to the other two that you did the artwork and stuff. Have you done that for all the records or
Not
just
all of
that
them,
one?
but for a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good. Like, so are
Sometimes I've
they?
had the lucky opportunity to work with some people who I thought were fantastic artists, so I would let them do the job there. And oftentimes I do it just out of because I like to do it. I like to draw, I like to make collage, I like to make artwork. So
Yeah, and it's kind of like from what's that kind of era that kind of
the
art look is
woodcuts, you
from?
mean?
Yeah, yeah, the woodcuts and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be like late 1800s.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Oftentimes, like that was how they would illustrate a book because they didn't really have the ability to reproduce photographs in books. So they do this woodcut style. And sometimes with those images, I live in Belgium, so I'm not too far away from France and Paris. So I would go to Paris. They have these like book vendors that would sell used old books really cheap on the waterfront. And
Oh
these like
wow.
little like almost like a tool shed or something, and you can buy them for like really cheap. I'd buy up all these books and cut them up and turn them into new things.
Man,
That's
that's fucking so sick, man. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's so cool. It's I flicked through the discography earlier. That's my favorite piece of artwork. That
Mm.
cover. It's it's really striking, and it's again, if you didn't know that was, you would never guess that was a hardcore band at heart.
No.
Like, it's so
Well, like I said before, we're not one thing or the other. We just
yeah,
Mm.
make music that we like. We
yeah,
were on a label called Victory Records in the 90s, and so
Yeah.
therefore everyone thinks that we're hardcore. But hardcore back then was very by the book,
yeah,
similar to what you guys were saying before about that, what the book that you were reading about the group.
Yeah.
Um, there, it was a lot of very uh, traditional orthodox hardcore music,
yeah.
with with the formulas and things like that. And we
Mm.
didn't really follow those formulas. So in the 90s and in the 80s, people detested us in the hardcore community. They said that we were traitors or something.
Fucking so many dopes in
Harsh,
that scene,
man.
man.
But then sometime in the 2000s, and all those people went away and became, just dusty old people. And then
Mm.
new generation came in, and then they misunderstood, and they said, "Oh, all these bands had copied Integrity, so Integrity must have been like the most popular band of the time, But it wasn't like that, really. A lot of people were more upset that we were breaking rules than being happy that we were being innovative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Is there a reason you were sort of tied into that scene then, Dwid, rather than because I hear a lot of say bands like High on Fire and stuff like that in your sound. Is there a reason you were tied into hardcore and not into more rock and metal side of the heavy music sphere?
Well, the first time that I ever heard of his work was when I toured with Neurosis.
Mm.
And he was his band, I think, was called Sleep then,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
And he was a kid at the time, and Neurosis were they were a lot younger, so was I. And then they said, "This is our buddy Matt Pike's band," and he's a young kid, but here's a demo. It's pretty good. It was more like kind of Sabbathy or something like
Yeah.
that, if I remember right. Um, and then I didn't really follow too much of it after that, but we
Yeah.
played times with him. He's a nice guy.
It's just interesting to me that going into these tracks, having not delved into before, why you were tied,
Or why
or
we were
was,
categorized. That's
yeah,
because laziness. People are
Yeah.
lazy. People want to categorize things because they don't want to think about things. They just want everything to be the same, assembly line stuff.
yeah,
And also, like I said before, we were on a label called Victory Records, which was pretty much like very color by numbers, hardcore kind
yeah,
of
Hmm.
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So we definitely didn't fit in there, but because we're on the label, people would just assume that we were also the same.
I see.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating, man.
But we're into different types of music, and that was either some people really loved that about us, and a lot of people didn't like that about us as well. So it depends.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to Den of Iniquity then, Daz. We'll skip back to Divinity in Exile, the track you picked.
Yeah, Divinity in Exile. It's a really short song, 1 minute 18. A mud hole of a stomper of a riff. Great transitions into like thrashy punk, and again like ominous. And there's like for me like an ominous sort of like depressive, like doomy passage as well. Like it's just something that Integrity just do to a masterful level is be able to take all these influences that Dwid's mentioned, and they kind of just seamlessly put them into an organic song, and everything just works. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And Season and Size of Days again, I think for me as an album as a whole, again, is another, like, especially with the remasters, the reissues, the artwork on that again is really striking and kind of like, I suppose, a bit like horror-y, isn't it? Like when you look at it, you just think, fucking hell, what's going on here then? It's a bit.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I want people to look at it. I want people to wonder what it means. I want people.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I would buy records just based off the visuals
yeah,
most of
Hmm.
the time because you couldn't listen to it. There wasn't the internet and things. And it wasn't on the radio because it was underground music. So you'd see a cover and you'd say, "Wow, that looks something I like." And
yeah,
sometimes you get home and it would suck, and sometimes it'd be your favorite thing in the world. So you just have to throw the dice.
yeah, man.
But I guess there's a part of me that still has um, that need to appeal to that kind of mentality, even though now I know that you can listen to the whole damn thing on a streaming platform and see everything on the internet probably, and none of that necessarily works the same way as it did. But that's just the way that I grew up looking at it. So
Yeah, well, it's the same with us three, really. Like, I mean, we kind of always saying that, you know, as long as the content's good of the music, obviously that's great. But like, tying it into a really great piece of striking artwork is even better. It's like the cherry on the top, and that's exactly like what you get with this album. It's a great the redesign of the cover of the churches and the hooded, spectre or whatever it is. It's like real, again,
yeah, I
quite a
tried to
cult.
make an extension of what the original artwork looked like a little
Mm,
bit in that same universe, but being new and different.
Yeah,
yeah.
cool. I think it's just as important, to be honest, these days. There's so many bands now, and you can access so many bands in a second on the internet. I think if you unless you've got I think that having that striking art and that really standout art is just as important now as it was back then, to be honest.
Yeah, it's an extension of what I'm doing anyways. I
Yeah.
I started out more as doing visual arts than as a musician. So the musician part kind of came by accident. And so I take a lot of it's fun for me to make the artwork rather than a burden for me to make the artwork. Where some people might be like, "Oh, what are we going to do for the cover? We don't have any
Yeah.
ideas." For me, that's like my something I look forward to. Would you guys mind if I move? My son just got home and he's going to be really loud.
Oh,
Yeah, of
oh
course,
no,
man. Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
mate. Yeah, no, it's all
I'll
Absolutely.
good.
move upstairs 1 second.
Yeah, go for it,
Absolutely,
buddy.
no troubles at all.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
Oh, all good.
All good, man. So Daz, Den of Iniquity is a compilation, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, Den of Iniquity, yeah.
That was a compilation of
Compilation.
like singles and things that didn't fit on a full length.
Okay, cool. Because I'm scrolling through the discography, sort of jumping in and out as we're chatting, and I mean, it's a massive discography. So it's kind of like I'm glad you did this, Daz, as a starting guide.
Mm.
So I know where to dive in, having listened to these tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, the next pick that I've taken is Salvation's Malevolence off of Systems Overload. Now that's generally, along with the earlier Integrity albums, considered one of the best.
Okay,
You know, and something that was really striking about this song is the really cool spoken word part that you do with in like what it's like a minute and 20 in.
I love that
Yeah.
bit.
Oh, it's just such an interesting angle to take, and the guitar riffs, and there's a killer two-step riff in there, but then it evolves into an almost, now it's not a country riff, but it did sort of take me to a sort of country sort of esque
Yeah, there's a couple
visual.
funny things I could say about the song. The whisper thing that you talk about, that alludes to an album that comes out later. So it's a
Okay.
Seasons and the Size of Days, and so that was an allusion to a record we were working on, but in the future. So
Oh
Oh
man, that
wow.
is sick, dude. I love
that's kind
stuff
of a
like that.
funny twist. The other thing is, uh, a great amount of people seemed that like our band seemed to really enjoy that song, and oftentimes people say, "Hey, why don't you guys play this song live?" So we do play it live every 5 years, but it never works. It's like one of those songs that like it kills the whole mood. People don't know what to do. Like you said, is it a country song? Should we do like a two-step, or should we have cowboy boots and do line dancing? Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know
That's-
what it is. It kills the momentum, but it
it-
definitely does, and it has since it came out. We would try it all the time, and it would just be like, people would be really engaged in the performance, really into it, and then that song comes on, and they all go to the bar.
Oh my God.
And when
It's
that
the
song's
country
done,
part.
they
They're all
come
just like,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't know what to do. I think people feel a little bit awkward or confused, maybe.
Oh, I absolutely love that song again. Like it's just another example of, in my opinion, how genius the band is, like to be able to, you know, mesh these different elements together. I mean, in the same song, there's all these fucking weird, cool guitar stuff going on towards the end, like weird, and it's kind of like a little bit in the back. And I was just
Yeah,
like, what?
some of that stuff we would take. They had these big master reels that we would record on back in those days, and they looked sort of like, I guess for younger guys like yourself, like it would look like what movies have, those movie reels. We'd
Yeah, it's
record
Right,
recorded
yeah.
to
things like
tape.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Real big reels from Ampex was the brand. And because they were like reels, they were wheels, like a big cassette player, maybe that would make sense to
yeah,
you. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we would like touch the reels and like pull against the motor and like fuck up the speed of it while solos were being played, so it would have this warped feeling or this like trippy, otherworldly kind of thing.
So studio
Yeah.
experimentation it is big then in
It
integrity
was
world.
something
Yeah,
that we like to do, yeah,
yeah, it's cool.
because
Yeah.
it made it, we just wanted to keep pushing the limits. We wanted to do something new. We wanted to
Yeah,
make sounds we hadn't heard before. We wanted to make songs we hadn't heard before. We wanted to write songs with lyrics that we hadn't heard, that no one had written that type of style
yeah,
before, and different things. We just kept trying to advance. And once, sometimes we would go back and write really simple songs,
yeah,
really by the book, basic songs, basic punk, basic hardcore, basic
Mm.
whatever, and then we go back to like an intricate song, or
yeah.
sometimes rock and roll songs, sometimes straight experimental songs.
Is that your love of making noise as well, Dwid, filtering into tracks like that?
Yeah, I mean that's where I started from, was making noise experimental music, but
Yeah,
again I didn't think it was music. I just thought it was playing as a child, you know,
Yeah.
playing with tape recorders, playing with like, I would pour glue on my grandparents' 78 records of Western and gospel, uh, Western music and gospel music records. I'd coat them with glue and wait a couple of days and then peel them off and then put the copy like it'd make a copy like a mold and put that on the turntable and play that, and it would be, you know, the inverted
Shit.
Yeah,
destructive
that's cool,
version
man.
of that record, and I enjoyed it. And I would like record because the horror movies that I spoke about being having a great passion for when I was younger, they would only play those late on Friday night at around midnight. They'd have one, and this is before cable and before anything. You'd have like three channels, and only one would have a horror movie, and it'd only be on Friday night at midnight, and that was your only shot. And there wasn't a VCR, there wasn't a way to record video then. So I would take these like small Panasonic cassette players. I don't know how to describe it. I guess like I would say it's that they have in the library, but they probably don't have that in the library anymore. So they were like kind of like uh, dictaphones where you just talk into them and say like stuff, and then you could
Yeah.
like write it down later, I guess, was the point of them. But I would put mine up against the television and record the as much as the tape would allow me. I'd record the audio from, for example, Dracula or Frankenstein or something. And then throughout the week, I'd play back the tape, the audio tape, and listen to it. And then I would imagine, try to remember what I saw. And I always misremember. And then I would try to draw it on paper, what I remember seeing, which would also be wrong. But because it was wrong, that was, you know, that was me exercising my imagination.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
That's
it was
cool. That.
entertaining. Ultimately, it
yeah.
was entertaining. But I now, as an older person, I can look back and say, well, you know, this is like when you see Sylvester Stallone in those Rocky movies, and he gets beaten down, then he goes and fights a bear up in a mountain in Siberia or something. Like it was like that for me to like be without any technology or any possibility to do things creative, that I use these like basic things, and like, and I was turning it into things that it would entertain me. At the time I was just playing like a child, but eventually I think that it turned into uh, something that developed me as a
Yeah, it's
person.
fascinating, man. Have that
Yeah.
you've had that creative spark ever
That's
since you were
dedication. That is, yeah.
ever since you were a young'un.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was either dedication or it was boredom or both. So it's hard to say.
Oh, yeah. It's all creative though, and that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Yeah.
creating something from nothing, like using these like, you know, unorthodox methods, perhaps, you know.
Yeah.
Like stuff like we used to have tape, like a talk boy and that or whatever, or like if you put a tape into it, you know, and you know when it's knackered in it and it's like ooh, it just goes all weird and stuff like that, you know. Like it's fucking cool. But right,
And
so
quickly as well, dude, you've made my day because we turned 45 this month. So calling us young'uns has really made my day. So thanks for that, man.
so the next pick that I've got right is off the album To Die For. Now this is the album that kind of like I was introduced to Integrity because this came out on Death Wish, which was Jacob Bannon's record label, I believe, at the time.
Yeah. I think it still is.
Yeah. And I swear to God, man, I was listening to this album when I was going around Morrison's, and I like almost knocked the head off of a fucking fish. You know, like just such a hard song title as well. Heaven's Final War, man. The opening scream is unbelievable. The melodic lead work perfectly complements the sort of sheer density of that breakdown riff. The lead work again, completely unbelievable, and just loads of sort of classic Integrity unpredictability. It's just such a the whole album actually is probably one of my favorites.
Well, thank you. If you want to know what that song's about, I think it's kind of self-evident.
Yeah, absolutely. So wicked album. I'd highly recommend that.
This was the most like when I went into it thinking, right, in my head, what are Integrity going to sound like? This is what I was expecting.
Same.
So it was like going through all these different songs and sounds to get to this. It was like, oh yes, this is what I was thinking Integrity were going to be. So
And that one came out, I think, 14, 15 years after we started. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Would you say this is probably your most sort of straightforward metal, sort of hardcore metalcore album, right from start to finish.
I think it's the simplest,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think there was as much meticulous thought put into it or creativity. So to
yeah.
me,
Fair
it's a
enough.
disappointment.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
People, they find that to be the component, the recipe that they're looking for.
yes, yeah. That's what. Yeah,
So I
that's a
guess
great way of
and
putting it.
like we have a record called Systems Overload. The title track is a very simplistic color by numbers hardcore type song. The rest of the record isn't so much.
Mm,
And so people just sort of like allow that one song to sort of like infect all the other ones, and they think that the whole record is like that, but it
Yeah.
isn't. So it's what other people, how other people interpret things, you have no control over,
100%.
and
Yeah.
usually everybody's wrong. So
Yeah, yeah. Totally. It was like, so the next pick, I've gone for Diehard off of For Those Who Fear Tomorrow.
yeah,
Now, again, lyrically, the quote I've taken, that last moment valued at 100 words. I just love that kind of stuff, man. Like,
thank you.
just wonderful sort of storytelling, isn't it? Like, up there with some of the greats, my personal favorite lyricists.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, for that song. So the title might give you a very different idea of what the song is about. So what happened was, towards the end of the 80s, there was a lot of, like, they had the Satanic Panic. They also had a lot of this talk show type, like, culture, where you'd have Oprah Winfrey, Phil Donahue, Geraldo Rivera, all these kind of like people who would interview counterculture people and then try to make it seem like, oh, they're coming to get you, kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
And at some point, they had one about skinheads. Now, when we were into punk and hardcore and all this stuff, we had short hair like I have even now. So people who in the 80s, you'd have the sort of feathered hair and, look like Wham or something, or
Yeah.
Duran Duran
Poison.
kind of
Yeah.
hair. That was common for most people. So
Yeah.
if you had a buzz cut, then they would be like, oh, this guy must be a skinhead. So I had a dog, and I lived on my own at the time. I had a dog, and the neighbors must have saw this program on the TV. So they called up and said, "Oh, there's some guy with short hair, and he's got a mean looking dog." And so the cops came over, and they asked me if I had all this special licenses and paperwork, and of course I didn't. I was a kid, and so they took my dog and had her
Oh, wow.
executed. Yeah,
oh my
Wow.
God.
and
Was that who Sable is?
yeah, so that's what the song's
Oh, dude.
about. So it's
Sucks.
a bit of a love song for a dog.
Oh,
Oh,
man, that's
beautiful.
so
So, like you
awesome,
said
man.
before, country and western. That's the
Blues. Yeah.
tropes of a country and western song about your dog dying.
Yeah.
Fucking
I
hell,
don't
you'd
have,
never
and I have a
get
song
that.
about a truck too. So you could be
Fuck
you
it.
could be getting closer to the.
Oh,
That
wow.
song's just got a different meaning now.
Yeah, I
Every
mean,
time
you'd
you
never
go for
guess
it,
that, would
yeah,
you?
no, you wouldn't.
Holy
Yeah, so
shit,
then it
dude.
says I'll always die hard, like it means that it hardened me, it calloused me, it made me and I was a teenager when I wrote the song. I was maybe 16 years old or something. So
Bloody hell.
Jesus
Wow,
Christ.
it was a
16,
more
like,
devastating thing for me at the time than it might have been if I was older, but it still was devastating nonetheless.
oh, without a
Oh,
doubt.
mate.
Fucking. Yeah, well, moving on then to another song from Those Who Fear Tomorrow, Darkness.
Yeah.
Another track that I think personally is one of the best vocal performances that have ever been put to tape. Fast, thrashy, unhinged, another classic, powerful Integrity song.
I could sing a bit higher at some points then. When I was younger, I hadn't gone through
Yeah.
puberty yet, probably.
Yeah. I mean, Those That Fear Tomorrow, generally classed as like one of the greatest albums of all time as well, so
Thank you.
it's
So with
incredible.
Darkness, like I was that was the first time I started to take LSD, was when I wrote the song Darkness and I wrote the song March of the Damned, and they sort of go together in a way.
Yeah.
They were also part of a cassette single. That was a thing that they did back then. It was like two songs on a cassette.
Yeah.
And the premise, I guess, of the song was more like, like introspective, seeing like how I viewed myself, how other people viewed me, how the demons inside me were, you know, running amok. And so that's what the lyrics are essentially about. March of the Damned is kind of a continuation of that. Even though you didn't mention that song, I'm gonna throw it in there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I love that sort of stuff. Like when bands do kind of little segues into things and like little, tee ups to what happened in the future or maybe later on in the album and stuff, and they're all linked together. I think
Yeah, those
that's
songs
great.
came out. They were going to be kind of the demo of what we wanted to do for our album, Those Fear Tomorrow. Before that, we had a 7-inch called In Contrast of Sin. And then we were going to do an album, and we made those two songs as a demo. And rather than just make them a demo, we had them professionally uh, manufactured so
Mm,
that they weren't just like scribbled on a little sticker and given away like that. It was a little more looked like a real product. And and then we re-recorded those songs again for the album, Those for Tomorrow.
I
yeah, I
really
mean,
love something that stood out to me. I really love the reverb sound on the snare on this.
Mhm.
It's so cool. We talk about little moments in music all the time, don't we? That just get you. So
mm,
when that snare hit and there's like that ping of reverb on it, oh man, it's so cool. Was that just you again in the studio, just experimenting and
Yeah, it would be experimenting. Aaron Melnick, the guitar player, he would come up with all that type of things with the drums. It's going to sound silly to say, but he's like a fantastic beatboxer,
oh
even
oh
wow,
though he's not
wow.
beatboxing like the Fat Boys or Run DMC or something. But
yeah,
he figures out the percussion
oh cool,
while he's playing the guitar, and he'll like have all that stuff in his head.
Oh
As
wow.
far as like effects and things like that are concerned, that also could have been me or Aaron. I don't remember. And there was a producer that we worked with who's passed away. His name was Bill Korecki, and the studio that he ran was called Mars Studio. And he was a really a big influence on us as far as how to work the recording studio, mixing boards, and also the like I said before, those tape machines and other
yeah.
things. He would show us how to do it, and then to his chagrin, we would abuse these tools to our own advantage. And sometimes he would really not like that, but mainly because he was worried they'd break.
Yeah.
It's possible they
Oh.
could have broken, but we didn't really care. We did it anyways, and luckily they did not break. But
Oh man, so good. Um, well, so the next pick again, it's from Those Who Fear Tomorrow, Judgment Day. The main riff
Love
in
this
that
track.
song. Oh my God, dude! Like,
yeah, that
like,
song I have a lot of things I could talk about actually. So that's one of the very first songs that I ever wrote with Aaron. We were in a band prior to Integrity called Diehard, and that was sort of our, I guess, like intern band, like a band where we were just like trying to use that to like make our mistakes, figure out things, and then we could get into something a little more real. And the first song that we came up with was Judgment Day,
oh
and
wow.
we were very young kids, and it's weird, like we still play the song live. It's a simpler lyrically, it's very simple because I was a very young kid. um, but oddly enough, about 10 or 15 years afterwards, the band Dying Fetus made a cover of that song.
Oh,
Oh wow.
A
sick.
lot of people, uh, when they did it, that was about the time that maybe YouTube and things like that came about. So people started to imagine that when we played the song that we were covering them. So that added
Oh
some comedy
shit.
for us.
Oh wow.
That's quality. I love that.
And you,
Several times people say, "Oh, a nice Dying Fetus cover," and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
oh
And then
fucking hell.
eventually I found out that they had recorded it. I didn't know at the time, so it took a
Oh
while.
my God.
Oh
What?
Like this was the
wow.
first song I ever wrote, man. Don't take that away from me. Like,
Yeah.
So what? It's that's blown my mind as well because like one of the things I've written down about this song is that there's so many different flavors throughout it, and that from this point in the band's career just has become a staple part of the identity. And the fact that it happened, like one of the first steps was that is blowing my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that might be like the quintessential Integrity songs, so to speak.
Yeah.
But influence wise, it's very heavily influenced by the very first Motley Crue album, Too Fast for Love,
Oh wow.
and some early Slayer probably, and yeah, it was just like we just sort of were just kids in the basement of Aaron's parents' house, just going and making music, and
Fucking hell.
Fucking hell. What did we do when we were 16?
I was
We
just
weren't
smashing
fucking
drums.
doing that. That's
Giving
incredible.
my
the
mum a
lyrics
headache.
were just improvised too, as you can
Wow.
probably tell, because I didn't change them very much.
Oh,
Another
Mate.
song that had
Yeah.
improvised lyrics, I'm sorry to jump off track, but you might appreciate it, was the
Absolutely.
song Those Who Fear Tomorrow, which is the title track of the album Those Who Fear Tomorrow. And I wasn't living in Cleveland. I was living in another state with my mother at the time. And we had a show. And so I went to the show to play the show, and they were like, "Hey, we're going to try this new song uh, live. Do you want to just sing something?" And so I said, "Okay." And then I just made up those lyrics on the spot,
Oh
and
wow.
most of which just stayed in the song. That was a weird thing. It was,
Bloody hell.
That's talent,
Wow.
man. That's
It is.
talent. It's talent.
It is,
it was
mate.
a strange
It's crazy.
improvisation, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at
So,
the time, we weren't thinking like, "Wow, we're doing that." We were just like, we thought that we were just like, hitting people in the head with hammers, but musically rather
Yeah.
than literally, figuratively, not literally.
But it
oh,
just shows the like I said earlier, the proof's in the longevity pudding. I mean, like
oh, yeah.
30 odd years later, here you are chatting to three
These
people
dickheads.
from from England about these songs that you wrote all these years ago. It must be it must give you such a pride, dude, in the body of work that you've created over the years.
I don't really think about it too much. I just think about what I'm working on now and what I'm working on
Yeah.
in the future. That's kind of where my head is always at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually when I do interviews, I kind of think like it's weird that somebody wants to do an interview with me, not because I'm shy or that I have a low self esteem or anything. It's more like, I mean, I'm not selling anything, so I
Yeah.
don't see the point of it. But I'll talk to people. I don't, it's fine and it's fun, and sometimes remembering the past can be interesting for me.
Yeah.
I don't think about it, so like the only time I ever think about it is when I'm interviewed. I don't reflect like, oh, when I was younger, I was,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yelling
but
about this
That's
or
that
yelling about
creative.
that.
It's that creative
yes.
mind, isn't it?
Always
Is
looking forward
always
to create
working and
something
always
new.
moving. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to not be bored, I guess, is if you really boiled it all down. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to entertain myself and not be bored. And so I do it. But then there's another component where I'm sort of like, it's almost like a religious um, mission that I'm on that I don't know what the purpose is, and I'm just sort of this conduit. Because a lot of the things, when I say improvisation, I'm not saying it necessarily to say, "Oh, look, I'm a witty wordsmith. I'm the modern Oscar Wilde," but it's more as if I'm a conduit, and like the things that I'm supposed to say just come through me, not from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're pulling it from the ether,
It feels like that, yes.
it just comes to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I also have my channel dialed in to a certain frequency
Mm.
where it doesn't come in like, uh, you know, uh, sugary pop songs that make
Yeah.
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
dance.
Yeah.
Thank God.
It's got that Dwid filter that it goes through
Yeah.
before it comes
Yeah,
out.
there's,
Yeah.
there's a definite misery to it, so for
So,
better or for worse.
well, talking about misery and a bit of misanthropy, my next pick was Abraxas Annihilation from the one of the best EPs ever created, Humanity is the Devil, which
Thank
is a
you.
great song, great title, great song title, great EP name. You
Yeah,
know,
the whole record is sort of based around this end of the world cult called the Process Church, and um, different aspects have. It's not totally about that, but ultimately, like that's like the bigger picture of the story of the record. And each song is like a chapter dealing with something that is explosive or incendiary or arcane. And Yeah, and a lot of it also is sort of like I said before, this kind of conduit improvisation thing where it just comes through me. Um, there's also a song on there called Psychological Warfare, which is
Yeah.
about using sound as a weapon
Wow.
and how I'm fascinated by that, which
Yeah.
is you said earlier about my electronic group, Psy Warfare. So that's where the name,
Oh, right. Yeah.
it was a nod to that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I just
It's
picked up on those longies that company have just done, like those nice Humanity is the Devil long sleeves.
Oh,
I don't know whether you must have seen them. I can't remember
you mean
what
the
they're.
ones from South America?
Yeah,
Or
that's it. The South America ones. Yeah. Oh man,
Chile.
instantly bought one of them straight away.
Yeah, he did a
So
great
good.
job. And he
Yeah.
also did this oversized print where it's like bigger than the shirt,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
over print, I guess it's called.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
it's the artwork. Is that John Dyer Baisley?
Well, I'm sorry, what?
The Humanity is the Devil cover, the artwork. Is that John Dyer Baisley?
From Baroness. No,
Yeah.
no. That's Pusshead.
Oh,
So
Yes,
Pusshead
it's-
is their styles are kind of similar, I think.
yeah.
Pusshead is a guy from the early 80s who had a band called Septic Death,
Yeah.
and they were one of the first grindcore bands. They were also straight edge, and they were from Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
So they had a lot of very unusual aspects to them.
Mm.
And the lead singer is a fantastic artist, and his name is his artist name is Pusshead.
Yeah.
And he eventually moved to San Francisco, worked for Thrasher magazine, designed skateboards for Zorlak and shirts for Thrasher and for other skateboard companies. And then this band that was also from the Bay Area called Metallica fancied him and hired him to do their artwork for I think about 20 years. So he did most of their artwork in the 90s and
Oh, I've got
definitely
about
most of their t-shirt artwork. So if you have any of those t-shirts from the late 80s and
Yeah.
and throughout the 90s, he probably was him doing it.
I have about 50 of them, man.
It's that similar style.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
legend,
you
But
can
man.
he
see-
ended up he did the artwork for Humanity's the Devil, the original version of the record, the Victory pressing of the record.
Mm.
He did the artwork for the cover of that. And at the time he was, he was working with Metallica. So I didn't think it was going to be possible. But when I was a little kid, like 13 years old, I would write to him because Septic Death was one of my favorite bands
Oh, wow.
and still is. So I would write him like fan letters and send him like little things I made, like little voodoo dolls and things like that. And then he would write me back and these like really beautiful letters that he hand wrote. And my penmanship was shit, but his was fantastic. And then he would always send me something like a record or something friendly, a poster. And so I was in his like I guess fan club would be the way to say it. That's what we had in the 80s.
Yep.
And when the mid 90s came and I was going to do that record, I thought, I wonder if it would be possible. And then I sort of doubted it, but I reached out and he said he would do it. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
it's a childhood dream come true.
Yeah, man.
Right.
That's fucking
I-
incredible. That.
He's
I
a
love that
legendary
cover.
person.
Yeah.
The problem is that some of these older punk guys like to keep their art and their music harder to get. And so that's why I think, unfortunately, a lot of people of the new generations may not remember him because it's not easy to obtain. I don't think any of his music is on streaming platforms or anything like that. But if anybody out there listening, you should check it out. It's called Septic Death is the band. And,
Sounds sick.
Yeah,
yeah,
go and
it's
search.
fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, if you like,
If
know,
it's grindcore-
chaotic, fast, what'd you say?
If it's grindcore, I'm all over it.
Yeah, it's a bit like grindcore, but before grindcore was grindcore.
Oh, wow.
They sort of invented that kind of thing, I think.
Amazing.
Oh, nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this would have been the early 80s and
There's some stuff on
sometimes very
YouTube.
fast.
There's some stuff on YouTube, so I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, that's probably like, I guess, unauthorized. So that's the only way you can
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only way I
Hey,
could
check it
listen
out
to
anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
You
Cassie.
might be able to pick up some of the records or something, or at least listen to it on YouTube.
We're down
Highly
to the,
recommend your listeners check it out. It's fantastic.
yeah, we'll get everyone onto that for sure.
absolutely.
So we're down to the last sort of 3 songs now. This one, Def, you listened to for the first time, was it today?
Yes.
No Time for Sudden Glances off
Oh.
of Closure album. Now, for me, this is a real standout song in the Integrity back catalogue because it's a really extremely kind of like punk rock song, and I think it's probably the only one that you get the old whoas, you know, the
It's
chanted
joyous,
woes.
isn't it? It's very joyous.
Yeah, and there's like, is there like a horn in this, Dwid? Like, it sounds like there's like a horn.
So
like a
with
wind
that whole
instrument?
record, that was a record that I made with a friend of mine named Brandon Abate, and Brandon was the drummer on the record, but he also had a small recording studio in his parents' basement, and we recorded the record there. And he just is a perfectionist and a really creative guy. So he went out of his way to like make every drum hit be its own thing, sometimes using sounds that were unorthodox for certain parts of his drum kit. And he's also the voice that does the woes and all that.
Oh,
wow.
I can't.
shit.
My voice sounds like Lemmy from Motorhead or something.
Yeah.
That's what I
But
say,
he's
yeah.
able to do those beautiful woes and you know,
Yeah, they
the
are really
singing,
beautiful.
croons and such. And the
Yeah.
other voice, when you hear a more beautiful voice, that's not me.
Oh man, like again though, like it's just another one of those songs that like adds all these sort of little additions into it that just make Integrity like such an essential band to listen to, in my opinion. You know, like it's, you can literally throughout the entire career of the band, like it's just been proven time and time again, you guys can just literally do anything and it's just memorable.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
You
it was a
know.
fun record to make, and I'm glad you like it.
That your
Thanks,
love
man.
of Sam Hain and Misfits
Absolutely,
shining
yeah,
through
yeah.
on that.
Oh,
That
it's
was
all over
inspiration
that.
for that record. And it
Yeah.
was at the time I was like 30 years old, I think, and in my head I thought, oh, I probably won't be able to make records forever because they won't let me. I don't know. I thought there was like a limitation or something, expiration date. So I was like, I always wanted to do a Misfits Sam Hain kind of record. So now's my chance. I'm gonna go for it. And Brandon also is a big fan of Misfits, and so we opted to make our best homage to Danzig and the Misfits.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so there you go, Jimmy.
And
Start
we
there.
even do a cover of the Misfits on there too.
Yeah, hybrid moments. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
amazing.
mate. So
Do you might
good.
as well then, Daz, go straight into mine from
Yeah,
there
let's
then?
let's go into mine because when I first heard mine, I was like, fucking what? Like, so again, like I just think this is a perfect example of like how diverse Integrity is because you know it sort of starts out sounding a bit like of a sort of typo negative Sisters of Mercy vocally.
That would be Brandon.
Okay, yeah, because I was just like, "Fuck me, is this Dwid? Like, this is insane." Because then you come in, and I'm like, "Whoa, like what a mad transition that is," you know? Like, oh god, I think those Brandon's vocals, man, like, you know, they're really good, like kind of contrast. Like, it works so well with yours. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
thought it was
he's a great
incredible.
guy, and it was fun to work with him.
Does he have any other bands to it?
He does, and I'm really racking my brain right now to remember what it's called.
Oh,
Right
we
now.
can Google it and find out.
Yeah, no, that's cool because I'd like to.
It's
I'd
Brandon
like to-
Abate. It's spelled Abate,
Okay, cool.
and he lives in Cleveland, Ohio. So maybe I can look it up on my phone. Can we pause this for a second? So we
Yeah.
don't
That's right. I'm just.
complete idiots.
I'm
Or at
literally
least not-
searching.
I don't look like the idiot that. But maybe that's what you want. I don't know. So
You know.
Yeah, no, it'd be cool to check out some more of his stuff because I think because
and he's in
you.
a new band where he sings and does drums.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh wow.
And I think he calls himself Brandon Mercury, like Freddie Mercury. Yeah, he does. On Instagram, he's
Yeah, on
called
Instagram, he's that. Yeah.
Brandon Mercury. Here he is. And his band is called the Public Squares.
Public
Oh
squares.
wow. That's
So
cool.
can we do a new cut in here? And I'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's quite good. Man.
Well, of course,
Oh.
Brandon Abate's band's name, Public Squares. You can find him on Instagram. at Brandon Mercury. So follow him, follow his band if you love
That's great. You remember
velvet
that.
voice,
Yeah, like and
buttery
subscribe.
vocals. Very talented guy too.
Because when you put this playlist together, Daz, you said, I can't wait to hear your opinion of mine. I can't wait to hear what you think of mine. And yeah, that was it. Instantly, it was like a Typo Negative Misfits mashup, and it's just blew my mind. Yeah, it's a perfect song.
It's
Thank you.
It's so good. So the last track that I picked was "Learn to Love the Lie" from the Blackest Curse. And I picked this because there's again like such a really memorable part of this song where you kind of sound like you're being summoned through like a fucking like ritual or something, like about halfway through. And I was just like, man, this is like so, unique,
Well, thank you. Yeah, those albums don't really get much attention from people for some reason. And oftentimes people don't realize that record even exists. So it's interesting to have you pick that one. So Learn to Love the Lie, as the title might imply, it's sort of like you're being lied to all the time, as we are very much so nowadays in the social media world that we live in. And so it's in a way sarcastic. Learn to love the lie. You'll be happy. You'll be better off. Just accept the fucking lies and
live in ignorance.
Go along with it and just nod your fucking head and wear their uniform and do what they want you to do. So
does that tie in then with the artwork is really bleak, and it's almost like a wartime scene where learn to do what you're told to do. That's what it looks like on the front cover with people lined up.
Exactly. Actually, the cover is a photograph that was from Russia of a witch being burned.
Oh, wow.
Like an Inquisition type situation. And I thought that it was ominous and ambiguous enough that it made sense, and that you could look at it and maybe dream in your own thing. Dream in your own storyline. At least that's what I had hoped until we did this interview, and now we've ruined it. No, I'm just kidding. But the intention was, I found this photograph there, and I thought, this speaks to me in a way, like there's all this extra stuff that I'm imagining when I looked at the photograph.
Yeah.
It's really bleak, isn't it? Really stark.
Yeah.
It's amazing that
I mean,
when
that's
you go
kind
through
of true of a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, when you go through a lot of bands have their theme, don't they? That carries on through the albums and the artwork. The diversity in the music and the artwork throughout your catalog is incredible, man. I don't think I've seen a band with so many different flavors in the music and the visuals. I think it's the most unique catalog I've seen in music.
Well, thank you. I mean, I guess it's just, I'm interested in a lot of things, a lot of different types of music, a lot of different types of everything, books, culture, history, art. And then sometimes I'm more interested in this, sometimes I'm more interested in that. Sometimes I find something new that I didn't know existed, and I get interested in that. And then all of these things sort of bleed into what I'm making at the time. And then when the album comes out, some of that is permeated into it. And that's where the influence comes in from the different, and it could be like lyrically, I might be influenced by something that has nothing to do with lyrics. And musically, I might be interested or influenced by something that has nothing to do with music. So it's sort of like synesthesia or something where it like doesn't make sense, but it makes sense because it's related but not related. I don't know.
That's what makes Integrity and yourself a special band and a special human being, mate, in my opinion. Like that kind of stuff.
I guess it's just a curiosity still. I mean, I get excited when I find something that I didn't know existed, that inspires me or strikes my fancy. So I think that I might put some of that excitement into the music too.
Yeah, man. It's like magical as well. Like I think there's like a magical sort of aura about a lot of Integrity stuff. You know, like it's
I hope
sort of
so. I mean, that's I guess the intention without it being deliberately intended that way.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
man, it's
well,
wicked.
I can't wait to dive into the catalog now, man. I'm gonna I'm gonna dive into this head first over the next few months and
same.
stuff. So yeah, it's been fascinating to it.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about it for me, even though I'm in the middle of the storm of integrity, is that every record is different than the next record or the one before it, and oftentimes every song on the record is different from each other as well.
Yeah,
And that's not necessarily a very easy thing to pull everything together, because when you're doing that, you run a risk of it just really going topsy-turvy. It can really flip over and not work out. So, and sometimes it has, but I find it to be interesting to, I mean, people are complex. At least that's how I like to view people, that
Yeah.
they're complex. Not everybody's black and white. Not everybody, oh, you're this, you're that. Everybody has lots of nuances to them. And the music conveys that kind of nuance. The the band itself is its own living entity with its own nuances, and it's not just heavy mosh music. It's not just intricate guitar solos. It's not just, arcane lyrics about
Yeah.
something obscure. It can be a lot of different things.
Yeah,
And it
and
can
that's
be none of those things sometimes.
yeah, and that's the beauty, man. Like some of those albums or songs maybe that you don't think of, you look back and go, not so keen on that. That could be someone else's favorite song. So that's the beauty of music, is that everyone can interpret this differently.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always a little piece of the puzzle that I leave out so that you can plug that hole with yourself, and then that song becomes part of you.
Yeah,
It's no longer
so
my
cool,
song
man.
anymore.
Fucking
Now that
hell.
song is yours, or his song or her song. So I think that that's important. I always like that about music. That I enjoy the most is music that has some percentage of ambiguity, where you can plug in yourself, plug in, for example, you're going through a rough time. That song might mean something to you now
Yeah.
because of that moment. You're going through a fantastic time. This is the greatest time of your life. Now that song has a different meaning. And
Yeah.
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
everything in between.
Yep, it's fascinating. Yeah, Dwid, thanks for your time this evening,
My
dude.
pleasure.
It's
My
been
pleasure.
an
Yeah,
absolute
bloody
pleasure. And
hell.
Daz, I hope this has been
This has been one of the greatest days of my life, to be honest with you. Yeah.
I
It's
appreciate
beautiful.
you
Thanks, Dwid.
allowing me to be a part of that. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much for giving us your time, Dwid. Like, got so much respect for you, and thanks for everything that you've done and created and given to the fans of the band and that, man.
Well, thank
I
you for
think,
saying that. I appreciate it.
And along
You're
with
more than welcome.
Daz, you got 2 extra fans as well with me and
There you
Jimmy.
go. I'm just converting them.
Yeah, we've
Right.
been converted,
Keep 'em
mate. Love
coming.
it.
Yeah, keep
Yeah,
'em
will
coming.
do, dude.
Yeah, thanks very
More the
much for your
merrier.
time, man. And we'll be back again very soon. So until then, party on, dudes.